welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and today we're going to do a TBR prompts pick my June TBR. But before I hop into the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love all things books. Now I will say if you hear noise going on in the background, it is my filming day and my family knows this. However, they do like to play very loud, annoying TV sounds in the background, and these walls are thin. However, I need to get stuff done today, including filming this video, so I'm not going to stop for anyone, especially a man, aka my dad. But if you are new to this channel, then you won't know that we're currently in the middle of a TBR takedown, where I'm trying to dwindle my physical TBR down to a manageable amount, or at least a manageable amount to where I can justify buying more books, because I don't have the space for more physical books right now. And yeah, that seems to be the problem. Plus, I've just got a lot of books on there that have been taking me forever to get to and read. So with our general TBR prompts, I'm going to pick 6 prompts from my little cup here, my Taylor Swift cup. And 4 of those prompts will be dedicated to 4 physical books, and 2 of those prompts will go to 2 Kindle books or an audiobook, because I also have a very long Kindle TBR. And now that I'm back into Kindle reading and purchasing things on Kindle, let's just say I also need to get through things on there. So we'll see how quickly we move through those things. But we have done pretty well this past month. I've still only got 1 3/4 of the TBR that I did pick from this last month ready to go. And let's just say we're gonna have a big May reading wrap up, because now that I have free time and a little more free will when it comes to my reading, I have busted through series upon series. Oh man, a lot of Kindle books. Spoiler alert, I read the entire off-campus series, but who else is in an off-campus, hangover? Yeah. But I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and pick our 6 prompts for the month. And of course, since it is June, we're going to try and focus on queer reads. However, I've actually made it through a lot of the queer reads on my my physical TBR, because I counted, and I think I only have 3 physical queer reads left. So we may be reading some queer reads on Kindle. So, a random number generator chooses. Absolutely lovely. Well, I guess when we get over to that, I will have to pull up the phone and pick a number. I don't want to count the books, so who knows what number I will pick. A green book. Oh, green book. Do I have green books? 1 green book. 2, I guess you consider that green. 3, I have some green books, but I think all of them are in the middle of series. So we may have to pick a book with green on the cover if we choose a physical book for that. Well, we're just going through the rainbow makes sense because, Pride Rainbow. We have a blue book. Well, I know I have plenty of blue books. Okay. Next up is prompt number 4. And it is a book with multiple POVs. I wonder if I want to choose a book that has dual POV, because dual POV is multi-POV. However, I feel like if it says multi-POV instead of dual POV, maybe I should spring for something that has 3 or more. We'll see what I have left on the TBR to sort through. Oop. Okay, grab 2 at once. Our 5th prompt is newest copyright. So a book that came out in 2026 or 2025. Okay, well, I think I only have 1 book, 2 books. I have 2 books on there on my physical TBR that came out this year. And both of them are ones that I really wanted to read this summer, so I think we're doing pretty well on that. And our final one for the month of June is a political book. Oh, well, Pride is political. So I guess a book, when I say political book, it could be a book, like a nonfiction book that is referring to current political topics, or it could be something like a dystopian that heavily discusses, politics in there, or it could be a fantasy that relies heavily on political intrigue and political systems. However, our first book was Random Number Generator, so I'm going to just put Random Number Generator on Google. Let's see. I'm not sure. I know I started out with 53 physical books on my TBR this month, but I'm not sure how many I have now. So let's just go 1 through 45. And Let's see if you, I don't know if that'll zoom in there, but let's see. Generate. So our first book will be number 26. I don't know. I'll have to count it off and see where 26 lies. If 26 is in the middle of a series, I will pick another number. But let's go. Let's head over to the physical TBR shelf, and we can find out what number 26 is, and we can pick some more books off the shelf. This is what the current physical TBR looks like right now. You see, we're not double stacking books anymore. So let's go ahead and start counting from 1 to 26. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So the first book on our TBR is a romantasy, and it is Heavenly Bodies, which is a book that I really have been wanting to read. It's just kind of after doing the first TBR takedown of this 3-month takedown, I got kind of fantasied and romantasied out, but I am excited to pick it up. Although I had considered picking this for my blue book, but we will pick something else for it. Then for books that have the newest copyright, well, I only have 2 books on here that came out in 2026, and I know this one actually came out later than this, so technically this is the newest copyright on the list. So do I want to go with just came out in 2026, or a book that came out the most recently that I own? I think if I want to be per my rules and it has to be the newest copyright on the list, then I have to go with In Her Own League by Liz Tomforty. However, I already planned on reading this month because it is a queer read, and I plan on reading that in my week-long queer reading vlog, so you will see it somewhere, some way on the TBR this month. And then for the last 2 books on my TBR, for my physical books that we're choosing this month, for multi-POV, I'm going to choose Zodiac Legacy by Katie Zhao, because I know there's going to be at least 4 POVs in there, and that satisfies the multi-POV. It is the second book in a series. I could have picked it for Blue Book, but it is the real, we're hitting the peak or the start of real summer in June, and To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, I've been wanting to read for a while, and it's a standalone fantasy kind of following mermaids, and I don't know, summer screams mermaids to me, and this is screaming my name. I will say there are a bunch of other books on this TBR, on my physical TBR, that I really do want to read that could have satisfied some of these prompts. But we're trying to stick to the rules I laid out for myself, even though I know they are my own self-imposed rules, so why am I trapping myself in this cage? I don't know, but these are the last 2 on the physical TBR that we're going to be picking, so let's go on to our Kindle TBR and see what we can pick from there. Okay, so for the last 2 prompts we have to pick from, we have a green book and a political book. So now this is Kindle, so I'm not sure I can easily tell. I don't have a Kindle color soft, so I may have to go to my Kindle app to actually view the colors on here. But let me see what I have option-wise for green books on my Kindle. I have, this one has a lot of green on it. It says Don't Eat Your Human Boyfriend, and it's queer. I think it's also a novella, so that would be interesting. And then we have Dragon Blind, which it's kind of more, it's got green, but it's kind of more of a turquoise, so I don't know how it fits into the green, but I know it's a romantasy with dragons in it. Then we have Conflict and Mediation by D.C. Emerson, which I also know is queer, and it's definitely got some green, plenty of green on the cover. Now let's see, any more? I think those are only 3 options. Well, Riftborn has green on the cover, but it's mainly just like a splash of green. So that's our question. I think, honestly, because this one has the most, like, green standout on the cover. Well, this is the thing. I think the most green standout elements is Don't Eat Your Human Boyfriend. However, I think the one that has a more overall green tinge is Dragon Blind. I think we're just going to choose Don't Eat Your Human Boyfriend because it's Pride Month and we want to choose queer reads. Okay? And then for a book that has political elements, or is a political book, let's see. I'm going to say we have Glow of the Everflame. Could finish that sometime soon. The Dragon Republic. I do own that physically, and I have the Kindle version, and I probably should, pick that one because that would mean I could tick off more of my physical TBR. The Sword of Kaigen, I think is definitely political. There are some other, fantasies on here that I'm not 100% sure are political. I think Riftborn might also be political. And then Fury Bound, I know, contains a lot of politics to it. The Poet Empress, I know vaguely what it's about. And I feel like it does have some sort of political monarchy situation to it. However, I think my options that are best for, like, politics. Now, I know Glow of the Everflame itself has a huge, like, that is political, and I should finish it. Oh, I also have Oathbound. I should finish that, too. We'll get to those later. But I think the ones that scream political to me are the Dragon Republic and the Sword of Kaigen. And in the name of finishing series, because I had been eyeing up the Poppy War series, let's pick the Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang for our political book. So let's go through all the books I picked for my June TBR. For our first book on my TBR for June, it was a random number generator picked my reads, and the random number generator picked 26, which landed on Heavily Embodies by Imani Ariu. So I know that this is the first book in an Enemies to Lovers romantasy series, I think heavily inspired by the Zodiac. On the back it says, a runaway TikTok sensation, Heavenly Bodies is the first book in a dazzling new romantasy series that blends Greek mythology and shadow magic with a tantalizing Enemies to Lovers romance that will rewrite the stars. And then there's a little quote saying, you know the most dangerous kind of villain? A woman with nothing left to lose. And it looks like we're following Alara and Lorenzo. So, I also do think it's going to be a bit of a trainee situation. But I'm going to leave it there. I love the cover. It's so pretty. However, like I said, I haven't necessarily been in... See, I'm in such a very strong, like, contemporary romance mood right now, particularly reading contemporary romance on my, my Kindle, that, anything but that genre hasn't really been hitting as much, so that's why I haven't necessarily been as drawn to romantasy itself, but... You know what? You gotta make it through them. You gotta make it through the books, and I'm sure this one will capture my attention. Then for our newest copyright, we have In Her Own League by Liz Tomforty. So this is a spin-off contemporary romance from her Windy City series, which just got greenlit or picked up for a TV show adaptation. And given that Prime is inundating us all with a book-to-TV adaptation hangovers this summer, ooh, all I'm gonna know is if it turns out just as well as off-campus adaptation, you gonna be sick of me. Because I'm like, the books in itself in the off-campus series are not necessarily my favorite. They're kind of all in that middling 3-star range. They're just kind of a fun, sort of like, not trashy time, but it feels kind of like that because they're of their era. But when it's a book series that I absolutely love, and if you do it right, oh my god, you're going to be sick of me. But in this one, we're following Monty and Reese. Reese is the coach or captain, team manager of the Windy City. I'm not quite sure, but the Windy City baseball team that we saw Kai and Isaiah from the original series being a part of. He's also the grandfather to Kai's son, since Kai married his daughter. And now he has a new boss in... no, Monty is Reese is his boss, and she's a woman, and she's trying to survive being one of the only female like sports team owners in a very male-dominated field, and they're trying to fight their attraction because she doesn't want to be seen like she's sleeping the way to top, or she's, you know, all that. But hey, I think it's also a little age gap, but I've heard great things, and I like the Windy City series, so I can also read that on Kindle if I wanted to pick it up on Kindle. Then for our multi-POV book, we have Zodiac Legacy by Katie Zhao. This I've always described. It's the second book in a series, and it's a really hard series to describe. Other than all you really need to know is the first book is based off of Chinese mythology and Zodiac, and it follows these 4 characters who are going on a heist to steal back their sacred statues from the Fae who stole them years ago. And that's the best way I can describe it. All I know is that it's the epitome of what I think YA fantasy should be. Like, it's a fun time. It doesn't necessarily focus so much on romance. It's just like, I feel like, granted, I think it might be geared a little more towards older teenagers just because it is, I guess, a little more gory, in my opinion, however you want to read into that. But I feel like if you're going to say YA fantasy, this should be on the shelf of, like, true, solid YA fantasy. Then for my blue book, we chose To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. There's lots of blue books I could have chosen. In fact, there's lots of blue books on this TBR this month. So who knows? Maybe it's telling me that I need to hop in the water even though I can't swim. I don't know. But this is a classic book talk, booktube book. It's a standalone fantasy, which we rarely get to see nowadays. I know it's kind of a Little Mermaid, mermaid-esque telling. The back is pretty short blurb, so let's go ahead and read it. I have a heart for every year I've been alive. There are 17 hidden in the sand of my bedroom. Every so often I claw through the shingle just to check they're still there. Buried deep and bloody, I count each of them so I can be sure none were stolen in the night. It's not such an odd fear to have. Hearts are power, and if there's one thing my kind craves more than the ocean, it's power. It definitely is giving sirens. And yeah, what more could you want in the summer? Then for our political book, we have The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the second book in the Poppy War series. The first book kind of kicks off a story of, it's just political and academic, and it's based off of, I believe, the Second Opium War in China. So it is a historical fantasy, and we're following Ren, who is a war orphan trying to rise above her station in life. She doesn't want to get married off to an old man. She doesn't want to live where she is. So she tries her darndest to test into the top war college in all of Nicara. And to the shock of everyone around her, she manages to get the highest score in her village and is sent off to Sinigard. And of course, while she's there, she is treated poorly because of her background, her accent, the way she looks and appears. But she starts to catch the eye of the lore professor, and she pledges his class, which is a class sort of all around controlling magic and the lore around that magic. And he's got some secrets of himself. But when war once again breaks out in Sinigard and she is tasked with a special force to, aid in that war, things start to go really awry. And it definitely is a test of political intrigue, as well as what decision would you make if you were put in this position and you had this experience? Because the decisions that our main character Rin makes and that the people around her make aren't necessarily the decisions that you would want them to make or that you think is the most morally or ethically sound, but who knows? So definitely, if you have qualms around characters who may or may not be super likable, this may not be the series for you. And then for our green book, which we have to scrounge around for books that really scream green, we have Don't Eat Your Human Boyfriend by Lily Mayne. I can't remember. I saw this in some book rec video, or if it was just Kindle. But it says, I like to describe myself as an ethical ghoul. I've been working at Broth with a Bite in the Creepy Court Mall food court for 8 years so that I can get my very specific nutritional needs in a way that doesn't make me feel like too much of a monster. I work in this special kitchen preparing food for our customers with the same dietary issues, and I'm totally fine working alongside the humans who run the other kitchen and have no idea what's actually served. Okay, so ghoul, what does it mean that he's a ghoul? What does he eat? Until the new guy starts, the new human guy with the cutest shy smile and the raddest hair and a body that makes my mouth water. He looks like a very decent mouthful and smells like the best 5-course meal rolled into one. Suddenly, Ricky is all I can think about, sweet, delicious Ricky, who has no idea he's working in a restaurant for ghouls, who has no idea ghouls don't exist, and who I just want to take a big bite out of. Not like literally, kinda. Okay, it's totally wrong for a ghoul to lust after a human. They're food, but I can't help it. I want Ricky back. I just have to remember to keep my teeth in check. So I feel as if this is screaming zombie. Anyone remember the movie Warm Bodies? Yeah, literally the first chapter says, I want to eat the new guy is the first sentence. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no. You know what? Yeah. Yeah. And if you can't tell, there's a lot of green on the cover. It really, yeah. So we had to like mosey around to find us some green. And we needed a little more gay because none of these books, actually not a single book that we picked from our TBR was queer. Oh well, just so you know, we will be reading. Wait a second. One of the queer books on there was actually pretty green. Dang it. Oh well. I mean, I'll be reading more than just what we picked for this next month if my reading speed continues from May. But hey, those are all the books that I picked for the month of June. Let me know what you're excited to see coming from me in the month of June. What are your top queer reads for 2026? And I'll see y'all in the next one.